What's going on, guys, and welcome back to a new video here on Pokemon Arcade. This is going to be one of our first discussion type videos here on the channel. I thought it might be a new awesome little format of a way to do something. Full disclosure here at the front, I have recorded this video once with Cameron accompanying me, but I am sorry to tell you that that footage was deleted in an Adobe Premiere crash, so we're going to be jumping in to do it again. But today we're going over my thoughts on Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield, and this is after the January 2020 DLC announcement, so we've got that to go over as well. Alright, so the first thing we're going over in regards to Sword and Shield is the tutorial of the game. Since that's where you start, I figured it would be the best place to start the video. Some pros for the tutorial of the game on my end are some sections are skippable, you see a lot of things very quickly, but cons are that the tutorial is also still sort of long. We start the game coming out of our house, going to Hop's house, and pretty much immediately getting our Pokemon to start the game, which is awesome. You get into the game right away, just like you did in the very original games when there wasn't much of a tutorial to go through at all. However, you then have to go through the Slumbering Weald, Route 1, Route 2, two different professors, and then make your way all the way back to Wedgehurst to get to the wild area before you move forward. I think that could have been a little faster, especially for us experienced players, but I understand that they have to keep some stuff in for people who haven't necessarily played a Pokemon game before. If you have any further thoughts on the tutorial, or you want to know anything else that I might not have mentioned here in this brief discussion, let me know in the comments below. So speaking of things you do in the tutorial, we do have the starters. We have Sobble, Grookey, and Scorbunny. Three excellent starters in my opinion. I do like all the starters from this generation, although I am admittedly Team Sobble from the start, still Team Sobble here at the end, even with the reveal of the Gigantamax forms, although his is admittedly a little bit odd. Going into the game, I knew I wanted to get Sobble. I just thought he was super cute. I tend to go for water type starters in the first place, and Scorbunny seemed a little overhyped and Grookey seemed a little underwhelming. Having seen the leaks at the start of the game as well, I also felt like Grookey's final evolution kind of let me down a little bit. That said, I don't love Inteleon as much as I love Cinderace, so I think Scorbunny might have squeaked it out in the end, but ultimately I am still Team Sobble. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the wild area. I think that this is perhaps the best new introduction of a mechanic in a Pokemon game that we have ever had. I'm not normally a multiplayer type person. I know this is a largely multiplayer aspect of the game. They definitely could have done more in single player, but I love the wild area. I love the overworld encounters. I love the raids. I love the I don't love the Rotom Rally, but the Rotom Rally is okay. I like the Watt Traders, the rare items, and the massive explorability and the movement of the camera and the fact that there's a second Pokemon nursery. And there's just a lot going for it that I think we've been missing from other games, and I hope they carry this forward. I know with the announcement of the Crown Tundra and Armor Isle, or Isle of Armor, they will be wild area type locations, and I'm really excited to see what they do with that moving forward. Okay, next up we have got gym leaders. I'm going to talk a little bit about all 8 gym leaders, and admittedly, during the first round of this video, this is where we spent the bulk of our time, but with there only being one of us here now, I think it'll go a little faster. So starting off with Milo. Milo's gym is the gym challenge where you have to herd Wooloo and then take on a grass type gym. I think the grass type starter will kind of struggle here a little bit. The water type starter especially struggled here a little bit, because your flying type in Rookidee is not necessarily the strongest at this point. And then of course, Scorbunny will completely destroy this gym. So in terms of difficulty, not too bad. But in terms of introducing some new Pokemon and making them look kind of cool, I think Milo does a good job. Milo's a likable enough character in himself. He's a little weird that he doesn't have a nose, but his freckles are cute, and you gotta give him credit for that, right? And beyond that, I think the only thing I took away from this gym is that the gym challenges could be interesting. I did not mind Milo's. I didn't think it was particularly difficult nor particularly creative, but it was okay and I enjoyed it. The thing I took away that I did not like was that I learned very quickly that all gym leaders were going to start Dynamaxing their final Pokemon rather than it being a smart AI type of choice, which I think would have been considerably better on behalf of the Pokemon Company. Moving forward, we do have Nessa at the second gym, another gym where I struggled a little bit in my Sobble playthrough, as well as my Sword playthrough on the side because I used Scorbunny. I think that her Dreadnought is vicious, and it doesn't even have a Gigantamax yet. But ultimately, we made it through the gym, the puzzle was okay, and the amount of trainers seemed appropriate. I enjoyed it overall. Third up, we have Kabu, the Fire-type gym. Kabu's gym was good. I enjoyed his challenge. I enjoyed his team, although I do think that Gigantamax Centiskorch could have a little bit better of a design. But the thing I did not particularly enjoy about Kabu as a gym leader was his gym challenge, because I learned that it gives you the impression that you only have 3 chances to get at least 4 points, meaning you have to successfully catch at least 1 Pokemon in his challenge. However, if you fail to do so, you will learn that you can just knock 4 out. You get more than 3 chances, so you can knock 4 Pokemon out to get 1 point each, and you'll still get the 4 points. There is no actually imposed time limit, so you cannot fail. That said, moving forward, we have the split gym leaders for the first time in this discussion. We have in Pokemon Sword, B, the fighting type gym leader, and in Pokemon Shield, Alistair, the ghost type gym leader. And I will go out on a limb right here and say that I think Alistair might be my favorite, because Alistair has Gigantamax Gengar, and Gigantamax Gengar, particularly the shiny form, is my favorite one in the game so far, because I'm a big sucker for that white giant Gengar. Both of them have the top style gym challenge, which is okay. I enjoyed it a lot more before I discovered it was the same in both games, but overall an enjoyable and whimsical challenge that I think all people of all ages can enjoy without too much hassle. It is more just about getting some fun motion controls in there, and you know Nintendo loves to do that. In terms of their actual gym difficulty, not too difficult, not too hard, not too easy, but enough of a challenge and an appropriate level for the game. Coming out of that, you go to the 5th gym, which is going to be Opal in either game, later going to be Bead, spoilers, but Opal does a pretty good job, though their gym challenge is a little bit lackluster. I don't like the question and answer style gym challenge. I think that could have been done with something a little bit more interesting, especially with the dramatics of the theater being thrown in. But overall, an okay gym leader with a reasonably enough difficult team to justify being 5th in this order of the Galar region. The 6th gym leader is again where we have the split gym leaders, and I apologize for not remembering her name. But in Pokemon Shield, we have the Ice-type gym leader, the mother of Gordy, I believe is his name. And in Shield, we have Gordy, the Rock-type gym... Sword, we have Gordy, the Rock-type gym leader. Both of them reasonably difficult, but without too much challenge. Level appropriate. Decent gym challenge in itself. Again, wish that it was a little bit different. I wish it wasn't the exact same gym challenge with a different coat of paint in both games, but overall enjoyable. 7th, we go to Spike Myth and take on our boy Piers. Now, Marnie is probably one of my favorite rivals in this generation, so therefore I'm automatically more inclined to like Piers. I like that he has good reason for not having Dynamax. I like that he's trying to bring up Spike Myth from, coming from behind as one of the more financially distraught gyms, but still makes it challenging. I think his Obstagoon portrayal is pretty good. I think he could be difficult if you don't have a good fighting type on your team or if you're not over leveled. The only thing that could be better is the gym challenge, which at this point in the game did start to feel a little bit lackluster, like they phoned it in a little bit, because you enter the town and the whole thing is just a series of fights that they call a gym challenge. Now, you could say that it's the same reasoning as them being too poor to install the Dynamax ability in the gym, but that still seems a little bit phoned in to me to have 2 discrepancies in the gym, given that Dynamaxing is the gimmick and gym challenges are the gym gimmick. So I kind of missed it a little bit. And finally, we have Raihan, the Dragon-type gym leader, who I think is probably one of the best gym leaders in this game. Not only is he Dragon-type, which just feels fitting for an 8th gym leader in this case, but also he uses the double battle mechanic, really gets you into competitive, because he doesn't just use Dragon types, nor do his trainers. They all have some sort of supporting Pokemon that makes sense for whatever dragon they're using, and it gets you accustomed to that doubles VGC type of format, which the game really pushes as post-game type content. And that's it for the gym leaders, everybody. Let me know if you had any further thoughts about them below. Let me know if I missed anything or if you'd like to know any more that I might not have included. And we'll move right on ahead. Alright, moving on to the gimmick of the game, we have Gigantamaxing and Dynamaxing. I felt like this was an appropriate time to cover it, especially having gone on about Piers just a moment ago. Ultimately, I was disappointed with Dynamax and Gigantamax as a gimmick in the game before I got the game, but now that I've played through it, I enjoy it enough. My only hope of something they can do if they were ever to carry it forward would be making the AI's use of Gigantamaxing and Dynamaxing smarter. And granted, I don't think they even do it in the Battle Tower, though they can, with the exception of Leon. And they always do the last Pokemon in a gym, and I just think they could do better than that. I think it's totally possible for the game to have a smarter mechanic to allow it to feel more dynamic, more threatening, really. It's not as threatening as it could be, and that's my main complaint with it. I like that not every form has a Gigantamax. I don't necessarily like that you can't breed down Gigantamax, and I'm curious to see what they do with it with the announcements of the DLC moving forward, because I know a lot of the legendaries are sort of rumored or possibly confirmed. It's a little ambiguous at this point as to coming through in raid dens, and that could be okay, it could be bad. I'm not sure yet, but we will find out in the future. Next, we're going to go over the story of the game a little bit, which I think is overall okay for me. It's not necessarily the greatest Pokemon story. It's not the worst Pokemon story. The one thing that I have heard people pretty consistently complaining about in regards to Sword and Shield's story is the fact that you're sort of checked out to it. They, for the first time, take a more realistic approach to the story of, you're a kid, go do the kid things and let the adults handle this. And that sort of lends itself to making you feel like the game pushes you outside of the story a little bit, letting Leon, not Raihan, I wanted to say Raihan, letting Leon sort of take the role of the main character, and then in the end you just defeat Leon to become the champion of the game. And I understand that sentiment a lot. I do think they could have potentially checked you in on it a little bit more, but that sort of lends itself to the whole, you know, subtlety of Leon being involved in the evil plot while not also being evil, and that would kind of have to be removed if you were playing as the Leon slot character there, as well as it's a Pokemon game, and I'm not necessarily in it for the story personally, though I do feel that this complaint could be valid. The story of the DLC appears to be a little bit more fleshed out, so we'll see how that goes. My only comment on that right now is Hop going to be in it? We get a brand new rival. Hop is working as Sonia's assistant, and I want to know if he's going to still be our rival or not. So we'll see as we get more details on those in the future. All right, so moving on from story, we have got post-game story. It's my first comment here is that the post-game story having the legendaries in it, the box art legendaries, is very weird. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know how I feel about the antagonists, Swordward and Shieldward, or Swordward and Shieldbert, coming in last minute, unheard of through the entire thing, showing up and trying to take it all down. It's a little bit weird, it feels a little bit forced and a little bit rushed, but overall, again, okay for a Pokemon game. Okay, so now for post-game content that's not necessarily story-based, including the Battle Tower and Shinies, and I guess raid dens as well, but we've already touched on those. So I think that the Shiny method in this game, despite potentially being bugged, is pretty okay. They were relatively upfront about it with the encounter method. Masuda method is in the game, and then you have the Battle Tower, which sort of encourages the competitive aspect both in single player and not single player meta, I guess multiplayer. It's weird to call it multiplayer, but I think they do a good job of making it accessible. I think that their inclusion of mints and items and things like that make it relatively easy to get into it more than anyone ever has before. That's why I'm looking into it. Shout out to the exhibition matches on the channel, by the way. But overall, I think the post game is okay, and I think with the announcement of the DLC, we're going to have a lot more great stuff coming soon. Okay, talking about the variety in Sword and Shield a little bit, which is a little bit of a dangerous topic because, you know, they did cut over half of the Pokedex, which is a little disappointing, but I also enjoy that in the sense that I'm getting into competitive for the first time ever, and I enjoy not having to learn 900-something Pokemon and their abilities and stats. So I think the variety of the game is relatively okay. Again, the gym challenges, they tried to do a lot, and it seems like they might have run out of time. The gym challenges do become a little lackluster, raids do get a little bit competitive, and you know, you can shiny hunt a lot of mons, but eventually, what are you going to do after that? But the DLC is coming, and again, I think it can get much better from here. Next up, I've written down that I want to talk about difficulty, but I have basically one line for you guys. This game is what you make of it. You can make this game really easy and grind up very early on, like I did in my Sword playthrough, which was not live on the channel, but done separately on the side. I grinded up my whole team to basically level 70 before the first gym using raid battles and candies, and the game was a breeze. I did the whole thing in like 6 hours. However, you can also play the game as it's intended to be played, and I think it could be a nice 15 to 20 hour experience with relatively difficult trainers, so long as you don't abuse the raid mechanics. So again, the game is what you make of it. The last categories I have down here are also relatively short. We have the aesthetics category and the pacing category. Not related, but I'm going to kind of handle them in the same way. There's lots of complaints about how Sword and Shield could have looked way better. It could have been much more Breath of the Wild-esque. And there's also complaints that the game kind of shoves all the story to the side, off of the character, and then brings you into it at the very end. I don't think that's necessarily new for Pokemon. I think Pokemon probably always could have looked better than it has. And I also always think the story could have been spread out a little bit more if it was a story-focused game. But overall, I'm happy with it as a Pokemon game. I'm happy that they're moving forward with it in the future, and I think that each game will look better and each game will feel better than it ever has before. And finally, we have the conclusion to the video here, guys. My personal thoughts on Pokemon Sword and Shield is that the game overall was amazing, and I couldn't say it better than I said to my friend the other day when the DLC announcement dropped. I have never been more excited for an announcement of a game, and this was only about downloadable content. I think that Sword and Shield is shaping up to be one of the absolute best Pokemon games, and right now is in fact my favorite Pokemon game. And not to sound like a Sword and Shield fanboy, but I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I think that they could have had a little bit more time to make things a little bit more polished and a little bit better, but overall, the game is fantastic. It is enjoyable. It presents us lots of new Pokemon, makes me like all of them basically, and gives me a lot more interest in things outside of the main Pokemon game itself, as in completing my decks, shiny hunting, competitive play, as well as downloadable content and online play, which is something I'm not normally interested in as a gamer. Let me know what your thoughts are on Pokemon Sword and Shield in the comments below. Smash the like button if you enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe for more awesome Pokemon content, and I will catch you guys back here in the next one. Peace.